A new report from DigiTimes claims that Apple's first foldable iPhone, widely referred to as the iPhone Fold, has run into another production setback. Citing sources within Apple's supply chain, the report says that mass production has slipped from July to August, tightening an already aggressive schedule. Despite this delay, Apple is still targeting a 2026 launch window, aligning the iPhone Fold announcement with the iPhone 18 Pro lineup during Apple's usual September event. The catch: early supply is now expected to be very constrained, making the iPhone Fold one of the hardest Apple products to buy at launch. iPhone Fold production timeline. From engineering issues to a compressed schedule over the last week. Conflicting. Reports have created confusion around whether the iPhone Fold might be pushed back significantly or even into 2027. The emerging picture is more nuanced. Apple is facing hurdles, but remains determined to introduce the device in 2026. Here's how the timeline has unfolded. Nikkei Asia recently reported that Apple had encountered serious engineering challenges with the iPhone Fold, suggesting that the first shipment could be delayed by months beyond the original plan. Just hours later, Bloomberg countered this narrative, stating that Apple's foldable iPhone is still on track to debut during Apple's standard iPhone launch window later this year. Now, DigiTimes adds fresh detail from supply chain insiders. Mass production has been pushed back from July to August, compressing the manufacturing schedule but not yet forcing a slip in the public launch date. Normally, new iPhones enter mass production around June. This gives Apple roughly 3 months to build up enough inventory to support a global rollout in September. By shifting iPhone Fold production to August, Apple is giving itself just a fraction of the usual ramp-up time. That change doesn't necessarily derail the launch event, but it almost guarantees that initial supply will be extremely limited. What my? The DigiTimes report actually says about iPhone Fold delays. The new DigiTimes report confirms that mass production for the iPhone Fold is now scheduled for August instead of July. Apple is still targeting a 2026 introduction, in line with Bloomberg's coverage. The delay is tied to development and validation issues, but not yet to the extent of forcing a full launch postponement. Where earlier rumors speculated that Apple could slip the product into 2027, DigiTimes sources are more conservative. They acknowledge the delay but emphasize that Apple's plan remains a 2026 reveal, likely alongside the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max. The implication is clear. Instead of pushing the iPhone Fold announcement back by a year or more, Apple appears willing to compress its internal schedule, accept lower launch inventory, and deal with a highly constrained rollout if necessary. Inside Apple's development. Funnel, EVT, DVT, PVT, and why timing matters. To understand the risk Apple is taking, it's important to look at how a new iPhone, and especially a first-generation device like the iPhone Fold, normally progresses through engineering and testing. Before a product is ready for mass production, it moves through several key phases. EVT, engineering validation. Test focus. Core hardware design, mechanical structure, and basic functionality. Goal: validate that the design works as intended and is manufacturable at scale. DVT, design validation. Test focus: fine-tuning the design for reliability, durability, and user experience. Goal: confirm the final hardware design, finishes, and tolerances across many units. PVT, production validation. Test focus: the manufacturing line itself, including tooling, assembly processes, and quality control. Goal: ensure the production process can consistently deliver devices at volume with acceptable yields. According to DigiTimes, the iPhone Fold's EVT stage has already been delayed. With Apple still aiming for a fall 2026 introduction, that pushes the entire chain, DVT and PVT, closer to the edge of the typical schedule. This compressed timeline raises several key risks. Less buffer for design or reliability issues, if problems appear in DVT or PVT, Apple has less time than usual to iterate on fixes before the planned launch. Tighter ramp-up for volume production because PVT and mass production are squeezed closer together. Any hiccup on the factory floor could instantly translate into even lower launch day supply, potential for regional or phased rollouts. Apple could choose to prioritize certain markets or stagger availability to manage limited inventory. At this stage, there's no firm indication that Apple will miss its 2026 event window, but the production schedule is clearly under pressure, and that pressure is likely to be felt most by consumers trying to buy the device in its first weeks on sale. Will it be hard to buy the iPhone Fold at launch? All signs point to yes. DigiTimes stops short of calling the current issues major problems, but the practical impact for buyers is straightforward. Apple will not have as much time as usual to build inventory before the iPhone Fold is unveiled. Historically, even standard iPhone models with full 3-month production ramps can see stock shortages at launch, especially for the most popular colors and configurations. With the iPhone Fold, mass production starts later than usual, August instead of June. This is a first-generation complex product with lower yield risks. Early demand is likely to be high, fueled by years of anticipation and Apple's marketing, all of this suggests limited quantities at launch. Only a fraction of the demand is likely to be met in the first wave. Long shipping estimates. Many customers may see delivery dates slip into later months soon after pre-orders open. Potential waitlists or staggered releases. Apple could roll out the iPhone Fold in select markets first, expanding availability as production stabilizes. In other words, even if the iPhone Fold is announced and technically released alongside the iPhone 18 Pro this September, actually getting your hands on one might prove difficult for months. Conflicting reports. 2026 launch versus 2027 delay. The recent wave of leaks has led to a tug-of-war between two core narratives. Nikkei Asia's view. Apple is facing serious engineering and production obstacles. The first shipment could be pushed back by months, with some speculation extending as far as 2027. Bloomberg and DigiTimes' view, Apple has indeed hit speed bumps in development and ramp-up. However, the goal remains a 2026 launch during Apple's traditional fall event. The cost of staying on schedule will likely be tighter production, limited stock, and a higher risk timeline. Supply chain sources quoted by DigiTimes specifically confirm the shift of mass production to August, but also emphasize that a 2026 introduction is still the plan. That combination, delay plus determination to hold the launch window, is exactly what creates the compressed production schedule now in focus, until more concrete evidence emerges, such as a confirmed internal slip of PVT or a wave of component cancellations. The 2026 target appears to stand. The real compromise may be made on volume, not timing. How the iPhone Fold fits into Apple's 2026 iPhone lineup. Assuming Apple holds to its current roadmap, the iPhone Fold is expected to debut alongside the iPhone 18 family during Apple's fall 2026 event. The lineup could look something like this: iPhone 18 and iPhone 18 Plus, mainstream models targeting the broadest audience. iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max, high-end flagships with the latest camera, display, and performance upgrades. iPhone Fold, a premium, early adopter device positioned above or alongside the Pro Max in price and novelty. This positioning explains why Apple may feel comfortable with a late production start. The iPhone Fold is likely to be a niche, ultra-premium product, not a mass-market volume driver like the standard iPhone models. Apple doesn't need tens of millions of units at launch to consider the introduction a success.